All right, welcome back to KTN Prime. Thanks for staying with us. Let's talk matters, politics and governance. Over the weekend, a lot has happened. In neighboring Uganda, President-elect Yoweri Kaguta Museveni secured a 7th term after being declared winner in the just concluded election, which was disputed by some quarters, including members of the opposition and civil society. No surprise there. Locally back home, major pronouncements were made over the weekend, and today's top dailies best describe the infighting and sibling rivalry ongoing in ODM party. The headlines, ODM rift explodes, and it's Odinga versus Oginga, expose the widening cracks as ODM weighs coalition talks with President Ruto's ruling UDA party. Not just that, we witnessed the renewed charm offensive of Mount Kenya region by President Ruto as he met UDA grassroots leaders from Nyeri County at the Sagana State Lodge, a move seen by many as one to counter the betrayal narrative and resuscitate support in Mount Kenya region. My guests tonight, seasoned political players. I'm joined by two doctors in studio. Allow me to introduce them. Dr. Danson Mungatana, Senator, Tana River County. It's great to have you with us. How's Tana River?
Tana River is good.
Amazing.
Came back from this weekend.
Yes.
They're okay.
Okay, that's proper to hear. Asante sana for your time. We're equally joined by another doctor, Dr. Makali Mulu, Member of Parliament, Kitui Central Constituency. Makali, karibu sana. Great to have you with us.
Asante sana.
How's Kitui?
Thank you for hosting us. This is the first show we are coming in.
Yes.
The thing is, in order to tell the viewers, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Kitui is good. Kitui is good. Especially my Kitui Central is good because we got the rains.
Yes.
The rest of Kitui is still dry, and we hope that things will be better.
Okay.
Yes.
Asante sana. Well, I'd like us to start with the power war that's ongoing in ODM party, which is divided between unity calls. We've had rebellion threats. We've had matters to do with calls for crushing dissent. So it's a high-stakes fight for the soul of the ODM party, and this weekend played host to just that. I want us to listen in to Winnie Odinga, the Iala Member of Parliament, who spoke while in Kamkunji over the weekend, and she criticized an ODM wing for railroading decisions without consultations and threatening critics with expulsion from the party. She equally demanded for a national delegates conference before any 2027 realignments. This is part of what she had to say.
Wanaongea sana na tukiuliza maswali wanasema tutoke kwenye chama. Tukitoka watabaki na nani kwenye chama? Na wale wanasema ati sijui baba aliwaambia sijui nini ati. Hiyo ni kikosa adabu. Baba was 1 in a million. Hatutampata mwingine. Na vile hauwezi copy paste baba.
Okay, just a section of her fiery speech in Kamkunji grounds there. And as that happened in Nairobi, the ODM rift equally was laid bare as rival factions in Kakamega held parallel rallies that forced the party leader, Dr. Oburu Oginga, to attend two separate gatherings. One allied to Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza, the other allied to Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya, as attempts to broker unity between those two factions appeared to falter. Let's listen in to some of the sentiments that were shared by various leaders on that stage.
Tukiwa na party leader wetu Dr. Oburu Oginga, hakuna jambo itaharibika katika chama. Na hakuna jambo itaharibika hapa Kakamega. Na ile mambo yote ambayo iko, yeye yake na uwezo ya kusuluhisha na kuhakikisha ya kwamba chama iko pamoja na inaenda mbele na Kakamega iko pamoja na inaendelea mbele.
We hereby mandate him together with the party leadership to engage and negotiate with the like-minded political parties, beginning the ruling United Democratic Alliance UDA.
Mkinipatia hiyo idhini, nitahakikisha ya kwamba we get the best as the biggest party in the country. Our party is the biggest party in the country, and we cannot be given peanuts. We must get our fair share.
Well, there you have it. It's quite clear that the orange is facing a turbulent time. And I'd like to engage my guests, seasoned politicians, and perhaps with the benefit of hindsight, they'll be able to give us, anticipate what exactly might play out as ODM fights within. I'd like to begin with Makali Mulu, because at the end of the day, you've walked the political journey with ODM for, is it over 15 years? Because Wiper has been through thick and thin with the ODM party in the opposition trenches. What do you make of the wrangles in ODM? Is consultation a possible solution, or expulsion is a silver bullet at the end of the day?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jesse, for that question. And maybe before I get to the question, allow me to convey my sincere condolences to the people who lost their lives today in Kikope. I saw that in your news, and it's really bad. Seems that the year started on a bad note. How I wish you could reduce these accents. I would also want to comment on the issue of the NYS issue, where you reported that 6.2 billion is reported to have been stolen. When I look at that, I see a negative move towards our journey to Singapore. And now I can come to ODM issues. As you rightly put it, ODM is a party we have worked very closely with as a Wiper party. We have actually been members of the same coalition now 3 times, starting with NASA, CORD, and then Azimio. And even before I get to the issues of the cracks, as a Kenyan, and a Kenyan who believes in democracy, what I see happening in ODM worries me. Because ODM had actually passed the test of time, having been there for 20 years. One of the oldest solid blocks of a party for the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And having been there for 20 years, anybody who would want to see what is happening in ODM, and why I'm saying I'm a bit worried, is because if by any bad luck, ODM gets into small entities, it's going to be very dangerous for our democracy as a country. We are trying to mature our democracy, and we would want to see parties like ODM being strong, becoming more strong and stronger. Other parties like Wiper joining that category where you have over 80 members of parliament as a party, because strong parties are good for our democracy. So when we see what is happening, we get worried. But having said that, this discussion about ODM as a party is a discussion, I think even last year we had that discussion on this forum. And then we did say that ODM, having lost their leader, the Honorable Raila Molo Odinga, the late Raila, it's just like a home. When you lose the father head in a family, obviously there will be a bit of instability. And what matters is how you manage that instability, more so during the transition. And I did say then that it is very important that people sit and discuss how to manage the transition after the death of Honorable Raila. And now that's what we are seeing. What we are seeing is actually an attempt to manage that transition. And I've said many times, if it is not properly managed, it could actually break this party into very small units, which are not going to be good for the party. The first thing you have heard these statements about, the party saying, Baba left us in the coalition government, in the broad-based government. That's a very good statement. And they are also saying, based on that, we'll be able to sit down and negotiate for our share of the next government based on that position. But now, assuming they don't manage the transition and they break into small units, that is going to weaken their bargaining capacity. They will be very weak to negotiate for anything serious. Because I'm sure anybody who wants to negotiate would want to negotiate with a unit which is strong. And while the other side might be celebrating that now what they are seeing might be good for them, because when somebody very small, you give them whatever you want to give them because it's like they have no choice, I think it's not going to be good for our democracy. The other bit, which we said, is that when you look at ODM and the issues coming up, there are issues to do with the generational issues. You know, there's the young generation and there's the old generation. Now, the young generation is saying we don't have any room in this party the way it is now. And it's now they are saying we need to create our own space in this party. The old generation is saying we would want to set a quo, that we continue as Baba has left us and allow us to continue leading you because you guys will still come. This is something which needs to be addressed very carefully, Jesse. Why am I saying so? It's because if you push the old generation out, all of them had to go, then you are not likely to manage that transition well. So that's why I'm saying this issue of dialogue, and I think Mahida did mention that you guys can you sit and talk. Because by talking, they will be able to say, what slots are we going to allow for the younger generation, and what slots will remain with the older generation. And that will enable the party to move so that when the older generation exceeds the stage, then the young generation will have been prepared adequately to take over the stage. And those are some of the things. But you know, when you look at some of the young people, they are also ambitious. And to me, that might be the thing which will break that camel's back. The fact that you have a very young generation, team of young generation, who are ambitious. And if they don't manage their ambition well, then don't be surprised to see what is up. You saw the Kakamega example, you've just given it.
Exactly.
Where you have a minister, cabinet, Waziri, Oparanya, and your Barasa. They are already, that division is coming up. And you know, over time, the Western Kenya bloc has never been a unit. Over time, you look at the history of Kenyan politics. I think it's all now Western Kenya where you hardly get a unit called Western Kenya. They are all over the place. Now, this is another sign that now when Oparanya comes, Baraza comes, you already have Watangula, you have Mundavadi, you have my friend Wamalwa. So this division is also not good for the region. You saw the other day where my friend Senator Mugatana comes from. The cost demanding that Hassan Joe must be on the table which is negotiating. And if he's not going to be on that table, there were proposals that this time we also got a coastal party. So all these issues, Jesse, are issues which require very sober brains, issues which require strategy in terms of how to manage it. Where I see it, I wish ODM well. My wishes will be they remain united so that we have a strong ODM which can negotiate as they want to negotiate and negotiate with other parties, because I don't think their doors are closed for another party. Yeah. So even us as Wiper, even as we make our party more stronger, we would want to negotiate with stronger parties like ODM. So anytime we see these small cracks coming up and being not managed well, we get worried. So I would only plead with my friends, because I have so many friends in ODM. We are together in parliament. The likes of Junet, the likes of Mbandi, who is now a minister, the likes of Pio and I, even Amburu is somebody we worked with him many years ago in the Ministry of Planning. And I think really they have what it takes to manage this transition. The other thing is the family. You know, the Honorable Raila family.
Okay.
You saw Jesse is like, what they are saying is Baba at the end of the day used to talk to us as a family. So they are saying we have information we can share with you which you might not be having. I think they also need to create room for the family, possibly to inform that debate, so that they don't kick any of the teams out of the debate. Thank you, Jesse.
Okay, it'll be tough maintaining all these voices within the ODM party, Mungatana. It's definitely a Herculean task, as they put it, to try and make sure that these divisions that are sowing are nipped at the bud, quote unquote. What do you make of the road ahead for ODM? In terms of neutralizing the dissenters, should they be given room still within the party? But equally, this talk of the old guard versus the young tack, whether to form a pre-election agreement with the ruling UDA party, or should they stick to their own guns, echoing the words of Raila, who told you that ODM will not field the candidate in 2027. What do you make of all this?
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to make 2 points. The first one, political parties in Kenya, the big ones, are multi-billion industry. And they need to be managed as corporates. They need to have a system, ideally, that would enable succession to occur like it does in the corporate world. Safaricom, I keep saying, has had several CEOs. It hasn't died. There's been changes on the board chairmanship. It hasn't died. EABL, you know, all these big companies that are quoted, KCB and the Nairobi Stock Exchange, they have had succession and it has gone on from one leadership to another. So we need to ideally start focusing on political parties to create systems that allow smooth transition from one leadership to another leadership. That's the first point I want to make. The second point is, what is happening in ODM is something that can be solved, but it needs to be managed. And there are historical examples. And I can pick an example from South Africa and from Tanzania. In South Africa, Mandela ruled that country from 1994 for 5 years. And when he was coming to an end, they were telling him, no, you have to continue. And he said, no, I told you people, I'm doing one term. And after that, I'm finishing.
Yeah.
Now, he then preferred Thabo Mbeki to take over. In fact, 2 years before the end of his presidency, he stepped down as a party leader and gave it to Thabo Mbeki. Mbeki was not the most popular person. But people managed the younger people who are in the party who wanted to take it. Akina Jacob Zuma, who was the leader of the young people. He was the head of the youth and roaring to go. Akina Cyril Ramaphosa, at that time, he was the leader of COSATU, a very big, powerful workers' union. They were told, look, you have the advantage of age. Wait, your time will come, you know. You wait here, you go and Ramaphosa go and do black economic empowerment, because we also need our people to be economically empowered, not just to get the political power.
Yeah.
So they were told to wait, and ANC managed that transition. And ANC went on to win the next general election. And it's still stable today. It's not as strong as it used to be, but it's still stable today. Come to Tanzania. There was Julius Nyerere. He gave it to Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who then passed it to Benjamin Mkapa. But at the time that Benjamin Mkapa was taking over the Chama cha Mapinduzi, he was not the most popular person. There was Jakaya Kikwete, young, energetic, fresh, very popular within the party. But the older people, they came and said, look, Kikwete, even if we hold these elections and you win, we still want Benjamin Mkapa to be our candidate. They managed the charismatic young man who was coming up. He was given the position of Minister for Foreign Affairs. He stayed for 10 years. Mkapa did his term. When the time came, Jakaya Kikwete became the president. I'm giving those two examples to tell our young people within ODM that sometimes it takes sacrifice. You take a bullet for the bigger cause. For that party to survive, somebody has to take the bullet. Some people have to swallow in their pride, control their egos, accept leadership. Because, you know, for me to be a good leader, I have to accept leadership from other people. You know, I have to accept, as a senator from Tana River, I have to accept leadership from my elders. When I am at home, I have to accept leadership from the county commissioner, you know, because he's leading in a certain area, you know. and all the others, even my members of parliament, because they are leading in certain areas, even my members of county assembly. A good leader must accept to be led. It is not always the correct path to push and cause an implosion. Unfortunately, the original Ford, when we were young then, we were looking up to these people who were in university, and we were looking up to them. Yeah. They were the people who were going to save us. Section 2A was going to go because of our leaders at that time, led by Jaramogi. Unfortunately, when the whole thing imploded, Matiba went this side and this thing went the other side, we were so disappointed, and we knew we were going to lose the election. The first multi-party democracy, even after Section 2A of the Constitution then was removed. And so for us who lived through that age, the original Ford never recovered. It never came back together. We still have Ford Kenya. We still have the other one. And Ford Asili, which has gone to, now is not even heard. Ford Kenya is not the Ford Kenya we used to know, that had members of parliament from every place in this country. So I want to tell the younger people who are within the ODM that I may not have been a member of ODM. I never worked on their side. But one thing we will give ODM, for the years that it stayed, they made huge contributions towards opening the space of democracy in this country. And although people try to say it is Raila, but in fact it was the team that worked with him, because he always used to work with team. They had the Pentagon, they had what, and it was a team that was from all parts of the country. So ODM, it would be sad to see it go, because we were very sad when we saw the original Ford go, into pieces. So I would make the second point simply by saying, let us control our egos, let us control our ambitions, let us accept to be led, let us solve these matters within the party, let us try and hold forward the ODM together. And when ODM is together, even if it is to negotiate with our party, UDA, they are at a better stand than if they go into separate ways, because when they are smaller bits, then the negotiation table is not leveled.
Okay, and since you brought up these matters of pre-election negotiations and whatnot, not too long ago we saw members of the ODM, is it the Central Management Committee, make resolutions that they hinted on working on pre-election agreement with the UDA party, the ruling UDA party. Since you're a member of the UDA, is there anything you could tell us about the work in progress from the UDA point of view?
Okay, so for us,
yes,
we are in favor of having negotiations with ODM. In fact, our party leader and our leadership had a meeting, and they said that the committee mandated the party leader to engage in negotiations potentially with an aim to concluding a pre-election agreement with ODM. So we are in favor of doing that. But even as we are doing that, I want to say this, that our Secretary General, the Honorable Hassan Omar, has been very clear that our party has a program. And our program is to strengthen its presence everywhere. And that is why we are holding elections across the country. And we are going to field across the country when the time comes.
So zoning is not on the table?
Unless we have very clear pre-election agreement. Okay. If there is no agreement in that area, then the likelihood is that we will field candidates in every part of the country, because we have the capacity to do that. As it turns out now, so many people have expressed interest, even in areas that we thought we may not have, grassroots leaders. People have come up and they have registered, and they have paid, and they have contested positions. Now we are waiting for the ward elections across the country. Then we will go to constituency, the counties, and the national elections.
Okay.
So we are strengthening our party, and we would want also to negotiate with a political party that is as strong, if not stronger.
Well, let's see how the cookie crumbles. Only time will tell. Makali,
Yes.
your party leader, not too long ago, made claims that he should get the first bite of the cherry when it comes to ODM due to his unequivocal support of Raila Odinga's stab at the presidency. Does loyalty truly pay in politics at the end of the day? Because we've heard of talk that power is not given, it's taken.
it's
You have
taken.
to grab it, yeah.
Yeah, you're actually quite right, Jesse. And maybe before I come to that, the issue of also I think also ODM doesn't need to look very far from where we are.
Yeah.
Because you remember, at one point ODM was a unit. Then we divided it between Kalonzo and Raila. We ran away with ODM
Yes.
Kenya, and then the current ODM remained.
Yes.
So they know the consequences of reducing this to smaller units. And that's why we are saying, looking at the history, when you look at that history all the way from the original ODM, before we had ODM Kenya, and then which became later Wiper, and then the ODM, you can see that over time there has been a very long, good working relationship between our party leader and the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga over time. And that's why anytime our party leader says, if it was a matter of understanding the values and principles of ODM as a party, and the ideologies of ODM as a party, and looking at our own ideologies, and the long working relationship, then the people would be easier. You know, the issue of coming together and you have no issues, the easier team would be the opposition team, not the UDA team. And I think that's why when you look at the resolutions by ODM as a part of the management committee, what they did say, they said that they authorized their party leader to get to pre-election negotiations, starting with UDA and other like-minded parties. Unlike UDA, which closed their door at ODM, these other guys opened their door. So which means it's like they are open to negotiations. And really, the way I look at it is that, also as you say, it's only that betrayal is the currency of our politics in most cases. So we can not rule it out, that it's likely to be there. But if we are in a church where you reward people based on their performance and interaction, I think then were it not the political arena, if it was another arena, automatically the ODM would be falling together with whatever Wiper will be. But this is politics. We are in a political situation, so anything is possible. At the end of the day, all these political parties are formed to be able to govern. We all strive to get power and be able to to implement our manifestos. So that's why you see, at any point, it's a matter of trying to push the buttons to see which one fits well, so that at the end of the day, you are in power. And I think that's where the issue is, that all of us will be working hard to see which formation can come together, and then you get power. But things that don't look very good for our friends here, because when you look at what is happening, and that's why you see also Central Kenya is becoming now quite a point of focus also, because Central Kenya, because of their numbers in terms of votes, and the way now we have Jubilee there, we have UDA, we have DCP, all these other small formations now. Everybody is trying to see who can get that lion's share of the Central Kenya vote. So just don't be surprised to see a lot of movement as we move to the future, and more so this year. Because next year, 2027 will be more of consolidating the gains. So this year, you're likely to see more people moving from this area to this other area. A lot of, like you saw today, people are saying Marala is already left, the DCP. You saw them in the evening in Mombasa with the party leader. So there's going to be a lot of propaganda, a lot of real movement, just to see which formation will be able to take power. And also there is also likely to have a third force. You know, now we have only like two forces. Don't be surprised also to have a third force, because it's like those who cannot fit into these too many ones will likely come together and form a third force there. Even if it will not have impact, but you know they can also secure a number of seats, which they could use later to negotiate for their interest when it comes to the formation of the government.
Okay.
So there is actually a lot of movement. But all said and done, it's always good to monitor this space. But we wish ODM well, as you have said. I think we are in agreement together with Senator Mungatana that we would want to see ODM, as strong as it is, as move to the future. Even if not for the benefit of what they get from the government, but for the benefit of our democracy as a country, so that we mature our democracy.
Mungatana, and I have to ask this as we conclude with matters ODM, how important is this upcoming NDC for their party, especially since when you look at the rank and file, most of those in party positions were not voted in, you know, by majority, by the people, delegates, ODM members. They found themselves in those positions due to being appointed in one way or the other. How important is that upcoming NDC? Will it be able to tell Kenyans that this is the path ODM is taking after that NDC, or do you still anticipate push and pull?
NDCs are normally, you know, messy affairs.
Yeah.
And if they show it live, and that's what is going to happen most likely, because our media nowadays is very, you know, on time and on their way. You will see, and I predict there would be a lot of mivurugano, because that is how NDCs are. NDCs are very big, you know, a very large number of people. So, and it's not unique to Kenya or to ODM. All political parties, whenever an NDC is coming, it's a lot of push and pull. So what I would anticipate, if I was to advise anything, and you know, I'm not a member there, but
from outside looking
from outside, I would start now looking up the list of all the members who are in NDC, official list, because it has to be reaffirmed. That is going to be an issue, because there are people who are going to say, I am a member, I don't care. But assuming that you are planning for it, you would want to know who is coming from which county, because all the 47 counties must be represented. ODM was that big. And then there are logistics to come, you know, where they will sit. And then I would want to start lobbying them much earlier. So maybe bring them to Nairobi early and lobby certain positions, if it was up to me, so that then when we take a vote on resolutions, we have what I think should be the way forward. But if people don't plan ahead and people don't want to accept results, if resolutions are passed through an open, you know, and democratic way, where people will cast in their ballots or have a consensus by, a vote of acclamation. I would say that if this is not well planned, it could be a push and pull situation. But I hope the leadership is aware of that. Those who are for this position or the other position, those who want to cooperate, those who want to file their own president, my prayer is that they would lobby their delegates in advance, and then there would be a free and fair resolution of their issues through voting. So that once it is passed, then people have the discipline to accept the decision so that the party remains together. If that is not done, then that NDC might turn out to be a bad experience.
Okay, let's see if
maybe just to comment on the NDC before we go to the other topic. Just if you look at the history of this country, even though people are championing for NDCs, I don't think they really add much value. What normally happens is there's a lot of negotiated positions, so that by the time you go for the NDC, it's just a matter of ratifying the decisions. And where that is not done, then nothing comes out. You know, you've seen the men in black. At one point, the men in black, you remember the issue of Kasarani, Kisirani, all these issues. So mostly, I would still insist that even if the leader calls for NDC, there will still be need for them to get to the boardroom and negotiate. Actually, much of the work is done at the NEC level, the National Executive Committee, so that by the time they move from the National Executive Committee to the NDC, they'll have agreed, because you know the way Kenya is, there's no you are going to have leaders, ODM leaders, without bringing the regions. You need also regional representation. There must be a leader from Coast, a leader from Western, and to do that, there's a lot of give and take. That's why this thing of conferencing before you go to the NDC is very important. If they don't do it, it's just going to be another black in men.
Yeah.
Kasarani Kisirani.
Let's see if the party leadership rises to the occasion. I'd like us to briefly hear from President William Ruto, who has intensified his efforts to consolidate political support in the Mount Kenya region. Just this weekend, he rallied thousands of UDA grassroots leaders in Nyeri and pushed a message of national unity, political collaboration, and continuity of development ahead of the 2027 general election. Let's listen into a statement made by the president. But even as we do, take note of the cape, kofia, yenye president ameva. Look at the colors.
Mashule tumejenga pamoja, makanisa tumejenga pamoja, miradi tumefanya pamoja. Alafu ati mtu akuje hapo aseme Kasongo one time must go, ati ndio rafiki yetu iharibike. Hiyo ni kuota ndoto ya mchana.
Okay, I hope you saw his cape as well as you listen to the words. It's off yellow, perhaps you could say a shade of orange. Anyway,
A lot of
colors, a picture speaks 1,000 words.
I had not seen that.
Perhaps you could ask your party leader. Let's start with you, Senator, because there's been talk that Ruto is trying to change the narrative in the mountain by telling the mountain, I'm still with you, because that's one of the messages he was passing during that grassroots meeting. Has that message really resonated with the masses? The fact that Rigathi Gachagua is out of the president's inner circle, does that affect Ruto's connection to the region? And I'm pretty sure Mbeere North could be a proper example to perhaps canvass if UDA still maintains its popularity in that particular region. From outside looking in, what's your take?
Well, political parties, they go through ups and downs. And when the Gachagua man left, he tried to paint a certain picture, very negative picture, and also really played the tribal card. And a lot of Kenyans, when you are told, oh, your tribe is going to be finished, your land is being taken, you know, the normal thing, or your people are being removed from positions, people become very emotional. And that emotion can be negative or positive. And he really played that card. But, you know, you can only do so for a certain time. And then we have to do the reality checks. You know, okay, you're saying he's a bad man, but look, we are seeing the roads are being done. He's saying he's a bad man. Look at the coffee prices. Look at the tea prices. You're saying he's a bad man. You know, people start taking a stock of things. They say that lies will reach the market before, as the truth is putting on its shoes. But as time goes, the reality will set in. And I promise you that the former deputy president, if he doesn't offer proper alternative thinking, he's going to have a very rough time. Because I remember President Kibaki, and for us who are older, in those days, I remember the day he went to announce that he's starting Democratic Party in Mombasa. He went to announce in Mombasa that he's launching his political party. And they crafted something very interesting. And the kind of politics that President Kibaki engaged in was not combative or fighting, but very intellectual. And as leader of opposition in the House, he was very good. Whenever he was talking about the budget, he would really make heavy points, because remember, he had served as a Minister for Finance. And he had a way of saying the truth is there. You can see whatever the president is saying, the truth is there. And he had a way of proposing alternative policies without abusing people, without looking bitter, without looking sad and haggard and harassed, And he waited on his time. He took his time to explain things. In his heydays, President Kibaki, many of you met him when he was a little old and when he was president. But for us who met him when he was in the opposition, that man, he gave Kenya what an opposition leader should be like, So, if you are aspiring to give Kenya an alternative leadership, where are the alternative ideas? Where are the eloquence of the late Wamalwa Kijana? Somebody takes the floor and you want to hear. Where are the intellectual capacities of Akina Paul Mwite? People who would speak and you say, surely if I give my vote to these guys, maybe if they form a government, it would be better. Not sloganeering, when you stand up and tell me one term, Kasongo, okay, at that point I can shout and be excited because maybe you are very exciting in speaking, and maybe you are saying nasty things, and in politics that is something that sells. But when I sit at home and try to think, okay, fine, I even want to support you, but what are you giving us? What is the alternative thinking? I remember when the days Akina Jaramogi, Akina Matiba would talk, they would say, this is how our government is going to look like. This is what we are going. Moi, you are taking us the wrong direction. So there were two alternative thinking. It was a battle of minds. But then when your kind of politics is, okay, let me wait for him. He's launching a road. No, these roads are the way they formed them is wrong. It is Nyota. This is a bad thing. When I come, I'll do better. Oh, let's wait. What is it? It's affordable housing. No, we will abolish these things, first of all, when we come in. What are you about? So for me, I would really urge that if you want to have truly, and be fair to Kenyans, don't call a meeting and just shout. Be fair to Kenyans, okay, and tell us what is the alternative. This is what I want to hear. You see, like Raila will tell you, we are going to form a government, and we are about devolution. We don't want this centralized, system that was there. This is what so you can clearly see if this man took over, this is how our government will look like. If this man took over, this is how our government will look like. A battle of minds, a battle of wit. And this is where the former vice president is failing totally. And it's a letdown, surely. If we've all gone to school, we've been elected, we know politics, something. Okay. Be fair to Kenyans.
Interesting. Makali, you're the one who will reply on behalf of the United Opposition. And you've received this criticism time and time again, full of sloganeering, very few words in terms of what the alternative plan is. What is the opposition's plan apart from Ruto must go? Ruto must go, then what? And as you come in, I'd like you to defend your party leader, because the president over the weekend once again mentioned the road to Tseikuru and how, it hasn't been made yet. He was in leadership for over 40 years, The
truth of the matter is that I think both sides, whether the government or the opposition, the way we do our business leaves a lot to be desired. Because when you look at our constitution, the presidency, that is the president and the deputy president, are a symbol of national unity. So anything they are saying should be a unifying factor, so that when you get to that podium as a president or a deputy president, then you, whatever speech you are making, bring the Kenyans together. But look at what has been happening. So even as Mungatana says, Ruto must go one term, Ruto gets to the podium as the president of this country and says, people have no brains. These are Kenyans who is supposed to be bringing together to the same table. He stands up and says, these people have no plans. So I think it's the nature of our politics. And I think what the issue that Senator Mukatana is explaining is what should be. Is the should be situation. The ideal situation.
It's not the reality.
It's the reality. Yeah. But we are not there, both sides. And what I would want to say is this. Like that statement about on Kalonzo was very unfortunate. I'll be explaining that, and then another statement that also is very unfortunate, and I think Mungatana will be sending this message back. You know, when you are president, or a deputy president, Kalonzo was once a vice president of this country. The fact that he was a vice president of this country, imagine how it would have looked like if the first thing he did was to go and do a tarmac road to his home area. And as you drive along all that road, you find people are dying of hunger, people have no water, so it's the whole issue of what we call the hierarchy of needs. If you are then to tell the people who live in that area to put in a priority order their needs, I'm sure Tamaking Road would have come very low. People have said, well, can you get water first? Which is, I'm talking to you, even is not there today. So what has happened, and this across the board, most of our region, there has been a deliberate marginalization of that region. And more so during the Kanu era, for purposes of getting votes. So that when we get to the voting time, now they will come with the relief food, give us food, and on the basis of that, they will be voted in as a government. Okay. And Mungatana has also been that, because he comes from Tana River, he's our neighbor. He knows that history, that there has been a deliberate attempt in this country to marginalize some areas for purposes of ensuring that they remain like the slaves of the rest of the country. So that when it comes to voting, we are all there. So I'm saying, some of the things might not have been done even if you wanted, because at the end of the day, he has never been a president. He was only a vice president. So even as you lobby for those things like a road, the other thing is, what would Kenyans think? If the issue was I become a member of parliament, and the first thing I do is to do things which go to my area and not other areas, I don't think that's the leadership. All right. The second issue which I want to say is a bad statement, because this is my area. You have heard the president say many times when he's addressing Kenyans, tumewaletea Njota program. Watu wa opposition wamewaletea nini? When we go to parliament, do we vote for any budget for opposition? These are the issues, and I'm saying, really, let's get above that, because the president and the Eco Fire, I'm a fire, they know very well that the opposition has no budget. The only thing they can do is, like Senator Mukatana is saying, is when the government comes up with the policies and proposals, then you could say, if we are in power, this is what we would do. And I think that's an area I've said many times, there is room for improvement. As we move to 2027, Kenyans would want to hear about, Kenyans who are educated like me and the rest, would want to hear, because we are all not politicians, would want to hear that these guys have brought a Nyota program, and then focus on the gaps of that program and tell Kenyans, when we take power, this is what we are going to improve. In that case, will be helping this country to move to the future years.
Definitely. I think there's room for better political discourse in the country, and our leaders are a reflection of who we are as a society. So don't be too quick to point fingers. Remember, you're the ones who voted them into office. But I really appreciate your input, gentlemen. It has been a sober discussion. Really hoping to host you again, gentlemen, even as I endeavor to get my doctorate and join you guys. Asanteni sana. Really appreciate it. Thank you. We were joined by Dr. Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River County, and Dr. Makali Mulu, the Member of Parliament for Kitui Central, as we were deliberating on the latest developments that have played out in Kenya's political space. My name is Jesse Rogers. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're adequately informed. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good night.